How do you connect what's been designed, it's the intent versus what's then getting built on site? It's like, if you're not there, how can you control that? You don't really have any control over it.
G'day guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Build Insite podcast. This is another special mini-series. We are live from Circus Studio at the Port Melbourne store. Much appreciated for these guys having us back. It was an absolute ball last time we were here. My name is Luke, and I'll be your host today, joined by my co-host, Dean. Right over the other end of the table, we've got an enthusiastic guest with us today. We've got Ben Walsham from Arkata. I have had the pleasure of knowing Ben for quite a while. He was originally an Adelaide-based boy, so we caught up over there and ran through, and it's been nice to follow his journey. Now relocated to Melbourne. Mate, I'm not going to take the spotlight away from you too much because I'll probably get a little bit of it wrong. Introduce yourself to the listeners. Actually, you're a returning guest as well. Anyone that's followed the Build Insight podcast for a while, I reckon it was all the way back to about episode 7.
Yes.
I reckon Jess. It was Ben right. And Jess from Climashore we had on as well. So, mate, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
Pleasure to
love
have you,
being
mate.
here.
Yeah.
I was shattered last time. The conversation that yourself, Jess, and Luke had in the Calorie Studio in Adelaide. I listened back to that episode and found it really informative myself. And mate, when we ran into each other at a building event in Brunswick and I realised you were living here, it was a no-brainer to get you on and have a chat ourselves. And we'll get into it, but I've had the pleasure of working with Ben on a project that's not far off getting started. So I'm keen to jump into some details, mate.
Absolutely. No, I'm stoked to be here, so thanks for having me.
Exactly, mate. Let's refresh some of the audience. We might have some new listeners. Do you want to tell people about yourself and Arkata?
Of course. So my name's Ben. I run Arkata, and we're an energy efficiency consultancy focused on residential projects. So I work with people like yourselves, architects as well, and help them deliver healthy, comfortable, resilient homes. That's what I'm all about. The journey I took to get there started in architecture school, graduated with masters, and then did that for a few years. Long story short, I realized just how shit our buildings are. And through that process, I was just like, we can do so much better. I know we can do better. How do we do better? And so I met Jess and was lucky enough to essentially join her residential, another sort of consultancy doing energy efficiency. And the rest is really history. I sort of then decided to just give it a go myself and started Arkata a couple of years ago, and we're still going strong, which is awesome. Meeting like-minded people, working with like-minded people, absolutely incredibly grateful to be able to do that every day. So, and that's what's brought me here.
It's amazing, mate. Your enthusiasm is contagious too. And I know we've spent many hours on the phone talking details and industry problems and solving the world issues. I was pretty pumped when you're now covering Melbourne, Victoria, as well as South Australia, which is exciting. And mate, I suppose finding Arkata, we break that down. You've got AR, architecture, Kata equals a form, process, and a way of doing. So, can we sort of touch on like your processes, mate, to how you tackle energy efficiency and the nous behind it?
Yeah, that name kind of came to me in a bit of a vision, when you just like get like the little drop of like inspiration and it's just like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like, let's put this together. Because that's what it's all about is like, I advocate a lot for, the changes we've recently made to the code. While there is a little bit of a specification change in most cases, what we're finding is that it really is a process change and it's just an approach change. You have to really engage with these things as early as possible and start to think about these things holistically. And that's what Arkata is there to serve. That's what the name means. It's about sort of changing these processes so that we can deliver these better outcomes to the people we serve. And that's really just how I approach it. It's very different. A lot of them are in, I want to work before we even get planning approval. And that is where we get the best bang for buck, like the best outcomes, the most flexibility as well. And as you both know, the earlier that we can make those decisions, the better off you're going to be down the track as well. So that's where the name comes from. That's what I'm all about. I don't really waver on that as well. And I've been lucky and privileged enough and grateful enough to be in a position now where the clients that I do work with, we all align on this sort of outcome. And so whenever I sort of bring in a new client or a new project or a new architect, it's like, this is the way I work. And take it or leave it kind of thing. Like these are the outcomes that we now can produce. And so it's amazing to be able to just sort of be able to deliver that in a sort of day-to-day basis. Yeah.
For over 130 years, Bowen's has been the builder's choice, providing a service that provides timber, hardware and innovative building products.
And now we're helping you further with this wonderful partnership.
We're proud to announce Bowen's as our new premier sponsor, bringing you more of the insights that you love. Build Insight, together with Bowen's.
Real people,
Real insights.
I think maybe before we go too far, just I guess maybe for listeners that have absolutely no idea what an energy efficiency consultant is or does, can you explain to us, Ben, I guess a little bit of, about your day-to-day, what it is you actually do, who you would normally engage with and what part of the project, and just tell people how your process and your services fit into,
Of course, yeah.
into resi building.
So a little Build insight. I called myself an energy efficiency consultant. I'm registered as a NatHERS energy efficiency assessor. So I'm a thermal performance assessor is my registered name. Right. I call myself an energy efficiency consultant because there's a difference between an assessor and a consultant in my view. An assessor is someone that just gets the plans, punches it in, gives you a star rating, and away you go. A consultant is someone that works with you for a certain outcome or a goal. And so I have called myself a consultant because that's where I want to be. I want to be working with someone, not for someone, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And so that's sort of like a bit of a difference in the way I talk about my business and talk about what I do. Day to day, I work in NatHERS and I help architects through that process to essentially understand how their building performs today and how it can perform in the future as well, what we can do to make it. And I do that on a daily basis, which is awesome. So yeah, I'll put it.
Beauty.
I think that's the biggest thing at the moment is there's a lot of assessing happening as typically we all probably know within the industry, especially from the building side of things. We're involved early, but throughout history, builders generally come in late, do the quoting, the tender, and then they, either win the job or they don't. But energy assessing over the history in Australia largely has been a box ticked, and that's it. It's like, we need that energy report. Don't worry about what's in it. The changes in the NCC, we've got to hit 7 stars. I know there's differences there between existing, might be a bit harder to get, newer homes are easier because we should be looking at orientation and so forth. And I guess that's where the value comes in more so for you being there as a team member in that that partnership to add that value.
Yeah. You're 100% right. And that's where that approach change and process change comes from. We have largely engaged with that process or that part of the process as a box to tick before you go for development approval. You could do most projects like that. That was fine. However, in this sort of world of higher requirements, it's becoming a business risk. And that's what I talk to a lot of my clients about. It's not just about energy efficiency. Of course, we're there to deliver great outcomes for our clients, and that's why we work together. But there's also a business risk in taking it as business as usual, like and being on the forefront and changing your processes to adapt for a future world is just critical. Like, you can't really run a business without thinking about the future, really. And so I talk to a lot of architects about business risk and uncomfortable conversations you might have at the end of a process where, oh no, we don't actually reach the minimum requirements of the NCC. Well, we've got to change things. And at that point, the client doesn't want to change anything. So that's a big part of it as well.
Are you getting a lot of back that you found architects and designers in particular, Ben, with obviously, I guess the design part of it, an architect's flair is to their stamp on their style of design, and it's their sort of portfolio of work. They've got maybe an image that they like, or I suppose a style that they like in their architecture. And there's probably a bit of that needs to kind of change with being harder to get 7 stars. So are you finding much kind of kickback in that when you're giving the feedback and and options that design needs to change?
Not when it's done early. When it's done early, it's a lot more like there's a degree of open-mindedness that already comes with doing it early. And so when I sort of suggest some design changes, there's a degree of open-mindedness with those as well. And so often that's where my advantage of having the architecture background comes in, because I can see what we're going for and I can understand the architectural intent. And at the end of the day as well, like they're the ones in the room with clients in most cases. I am someone who joins the team and they know the client the best. So I want to try and just enhance what's been done, not detract and change and make it any different to what it is currently. So in short answer, no, but yeah, a degree of open-mindedness is really critical. I think a lot of architects I've had conversations with recently are very concerned about the connection with delivery on site. I think that's some architects, I'm not going to say most, but some don't do contract admin, and so they're very disconnected from what's happening on site. And so how do you bridge that gap in a really effective way? And I think probably the tough answer is that architects have to take control of those sort of construction processes, contract admin, and move towards the preferred builder type of process instead of the tender process.
Dino, so I rocked up to site last week, got scratch bench tops, paint all over the windows.
Let me guess, Lukey. No good?
No good. And now we're spending big bucks trying to fix it.
Mate, Goop Guys roll on a thick, peelable, protective coating that saves your surfaces.
And your budget.
And your sanity, Lukey.
Seriously, check them out. goopguys.com.au. Protect your job from the start.
I'm more probably out of guess here. That's more, you're finding the contract administration is from a tender process still. So that bit was one that maybe not quite understood the full intent behind it. And then there's a lacking of, I suppose, execution there should happen to reach energy efficiency.
Yeah, it's really tough, right? How do you connect what's been designed, it's the intent, versus what's then getting built on site? It's like, if you're not there, how can you control that? You don't really have any control over it. So yeah, it's about sort of how do you connect those things together. And yeah, it's a tough question. I think probably none of us really have the answer. We all just like have to try to build these processes into our own businesses and watch it sort of grow through, because either you're doing obviously with Build Insite and things like that, right? So that's probably my answer to that one.
Yeah.
Mate, let's maybe talk about, I guess, NatHERS, current compliance and moving forward into the future. Can you explain the difference between the deemed to satisfy pathway, NatHERS star ratings, difference between whole of home assessments, comparing all this to the NCC requirements?
NatHERS star rating is a software modeling tool, and then NatHERS whole of home is the software version of that as well. So they're the sort of NatHERS components. You have your star rating, you have your whole of home. Separate scores and compliance requirements. You need to meet 7 stars for the star rating, and then you need to meet 60 out of 100 for the whole of home. The star rating does have an influence on the whole of home score. So if you have a higher star rating, the score is a little better naturally. But then you can't offset the star rating with the whole of home. So there's still separate compliance requirements that you need to meet in a minimum. So that's the NatHERS component, which NCC is one pathway that you can take through the code to achieve the requirements there. NatHERS does have a few extra that you then need to comply with the NCC, like the written part, slab edge insulation in certain climate zones, and there's a few others as well. Then you've got the pure elemental provisions, which is the prescriptive. Do you meet this minimum standard? Yes or no? Do you fit in this nice little box that they've created? Yes or no? And you just go through each element and ticks essentially. The deemed to satisfy has become a little bit more tricky for NCC 2022. They've created these boxes of insulation values. If you're outside of the box, you actually can't do it. So there's no way for you to really over specify just to get through the code. It's like if you don't meet that requirement, then you can't actually use it. And one of the big problems with that is it creates a lot of limitation. So in a way, what they've tried to do is sort of move people towards a star rating. And star ratings get better outcomes. And that's kind of what's been happening in my world. I haven't actually done a NCC 2022 deemed to satisfy yet, because in most cases, I think most projects are going to fail. There's a big one, I think it's the overhangs of eaves. And yeah, if you have an eave greater than 1,500 mil, you can't do it. So it's like our frescoes are generally, 2-3 meters deep or whatever. And that's an eave in context of the NCC. So DTS under NCC 2022 is, in a short word, kind of broken in a way, but that means more star ratings hopefully can get done, which gets you better outcomes as well, because a star rating takes account of heat flows through all these different elements, and they all work together as a team, like they do in reality, right? We're in this room, and the roof and the ceilings like work together to create the space. Whereas in NCC elemental provisions, they're all separate and they're all different components. You can't use one to offset the other, whereas in star ratings you kind of can. So that's like the breakdown of those pathways. There are there's 2 other pathways. You've got verification, you've got specification 44. These are just very different modeling techniques. Again, verification historically has gotten us really outcomes in terms of star ratings. So in 2019, you could get a verification house passed at 4 stars. It's just that's apparently. Ridiculous that was kind of happening, but under NCC 2022, apparently these are very balanced. Again, I haven't done a verification, so I wouldn't know, because I'm very much, does it achieve healthy, comfortable outcomes? If it does, I'll use it. If it doesn't, I'm not going to use it. And so I'll generally just stick with the star ratings as well. There's also the bonus of capital protection. Again, like clients who are building a home for a long term, a certificate and kind of thing really makes reselling the house, if you ever do in the future, just a no-brainer, because there is coming regulation around disclosures around energy efficiency for a house, and showing someone a verification report or a deemed to satisfy report is just not going to cut it. In that realm, you're going to end up needing to get one anyway. So that's another part of the whole approach, is that there's a big tie between all the banks and NatHERS and CSIRO all pushing towards this better outcome for more transparency as well.
Under the whole of home, you mentioned you got to achieve the score of 60 out of 100 to comply. What are some of the things that are actually being assessed to achieve that score?
So you've got the heating and cooling system. You've got any pool pumps if you have a pool. You've got the hot water system. Then you've got lighting, and then you've got solar and renewable energy generation and storage. Those are the components that make up the whole of home. Most cases, what I've seen is that you'll pass that 60 out of 100, 1 kilowatt of solar or something. Generally, you need some kind of solar on the plans through the whole of home. I've only seen one project meet it with just the defaults, and that was because the house itself was so efficient and small that whole of home really wasn't much in comparison. So I think when I got it, it was 8.5 stars and 100 square meter house, and I think it was 61 just in its natural form. I hadn't even touched the whole of home yet, and it was already at 61. So it can be done, but it's going to be very think about the envelope as well.
Does NatHERS work hand in hand with whole of home assessment? So you have to achieve 7-star NatHERS as well as the 60 out of 100
yes.
in the whole of home?
Yeah. You need
one doesn't override the other.
Correct.
If you get 7-star NatHERS, you don't have to worry about the whole of home assessment?
No, you do.
We are absolutely thrilled to announce that Circus Studio are coming on board as a major sponsor and supporter of Build Insite. Circus Studio is Australia's leading interior design centre. If you're an architect, building designer, interior designer, builder, or just looking to build your dream home, you need to make your time and come in and check out the space here in Port Melbourne. This space holds every element that you'll possibly need to design your dream home.
They're both required. They both form 2 different parts. So you H6P1 and H6P2 under NCC 2022. Those are the snippets I memorized there in my head. But So if you just Googled those, like you'd
Yep.
bring up the two requirements. One is the thermal performance, which is the 7-star part. And then you've got energy usage, which is the whole of home part. So you can achieve whole of home through the DTS, like through elemental provision, tick box as well. Like there's still that same path for the whole of home. The software whole of home is just, so.
Yeah. Ben, some of the conversations we've had been centered around, which I suppose the philosophy of Arkata in your direction is the comfort, durability, how they're performing, which in turn is the occupant's health as well. So what are some things you're tackling now and in the future? I know you're doing the Passive House Design course, PHP modeling, something that you're looking to integrate as well.
Yes. How I'm going to integrate it, no idea, but that's sort of the joy of like a business, right? Is that we work it out as we go along.
Yeah.
No, I'm very, very curious about Passive House. I'm a bit of a nerd and sci-fi nerd, and I always say this, but I was even thinking about this on the way. If you take Passive House to its extreme, like you're building a spaceship or you're building something that can like survive on Mars, right? Like if you read these, like I'm reading The Martian at the moment.
Yeah.
You watched the movie with Matt Damon? And it's just like, he's in this building, but it's like, it's a passive house. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a passive house with 0.0 air changes per hour. Like, you know, like it's no natural air change and it's got HRV and all that kind of stuff. And it survives in one of the coldest, harshest environments ever, right? So you take that to the extreme and it's like we're building stuff for space. And that is so cool. Like, I just love that.
I think we did do a post about it. Personal page that we followed each other. I hadn't thought about it not at all. How you actually
that's where my brain goes is like, that's so cool. I can like maybe one day I could build a spaceship or something. I don't know, but like it's really cool. I love that kind of stuff. And you know, we were just talking about equations and stuff, right? And I'm like, so
to the listener now, if you're not following some sweet. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
Actually, wasn't there one I saw the other day? You climbing out of bed? Or no, what was it? Someone asked you what you had for breakfast.
Oh yes, yeah. So that was with Project. Shout out to Harry. He's someone I met here in Melbourne, and we've done some like content together. So he's doing like sustainable furniture. So I had a sort of a shoot day with him. Like we're just filming some content, and that was like a little test. Like we were like making sure the microphone's working.
Just gonna keep it natural. Bit of humour.
That's right. Yeah. Bring humour into it. I think that's the best way to communicate things, right? Is like to make people laugh and highlight some ironies and that kind of thing. Yeah. One of me getting out of the bed, that was a lot of fun. That was actually for the Passive House Scholarship, which was awesome. So I'm super pumped to be part of like the Passive House sort of approach. I think bringing it together with NatHERS is going to be really interesting. I do work with a number of Passive House builders and architects, and like to be able to sort of speak that language and understand really where that's going is going to be really credible opportunity. But to answer your question, I don't know how I'm going to integrate it into the business because there's the certifier, like, you know, you're working with someone like Marcus or whoever. And it's like, how do I then work with someone else? Because currently NatHERS, I am a certifier. Like I sort of stamp the plans, right, and provide a certificate. So there isn't another person in that process. And so from a business perspective, how does that work? And how do you sort of run that? And I don't know the answer to that. So there's plenty of people out there who already do Passive House and NatHERS. So I might just have to pick up the phone and call some people. So
And that, I think that's a really cool part about industry and in that space as well, is everyone is so open to being able to share knowledge and advice and direction. So I think there's definitely some possibilities there, mate, for sure.
Transparency is the best way. If we want to make change, then you have to just share what you're doing. And, you know, one of the things that I love doing is looking into the future performance of house in 2050. That's like, anyone can do that. Any NatHERS assessor can do that. But it's like, let's share how to do it. Like, I don't want to protect that and hold that for myself. Like, how do we get other assessors doing that? Because the more assessors taking on the role of, hey, I want to be a consultant, then like that's how you get change. It's like how to drive change. So,
all right, guys, that brings us to the end of part 1 of episode 39 with our chat from Ben Walsham. Hope you've enjoyed the episode. If you want to find out more about Build Insight, head over to our website, buildinsite.com.au. Over on the website, you'll find links to previous podcast episodes, as well as our YouTube channel, Instagram and Facebook. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll catch you on the next one.
We just need to say a massive thank you to our sponsors and supporters. Without them, Build Insite wouldn't be possible. So to Bowens, Circus Studio, Wonderbuild, Goop Guys, Calorie Building, and Backman Builders, thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you again next week.
Let's cue the disclaimer. I need to let you know that myself and the Build Insite team are in no way, shape or form qualified to give you personal or specific business advice. We strongly encourage you seek out the use of professionals for products or when you are making personal or business decisions. Everything discussed during the Build Insite podcast is our own and the guest opinion and personal experience and is of a general nature only. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Catch you on the next one.